Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I have with me here today the Chief Executive Officer of the Hatton National Bank, Mr. Rajendra Tyagaraja, who will be talking about the theme of financial inclusion, which is the topic for the Asia Microfinance Forum 2010. Financial inclusion, achieving Asia's potential. We will learn about the role of Hatton National Bank as well as the role it plays as a leader for the Banking with the Poor Network Asia. So welcome, Mr. Tyagaraja, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We would like to ask you, as a major promoter of the Asia Microfinance Forum 2010, how do you feel that the microfinance practitioners and other stakeholders will find this topic useful in terms of their interaction and their strategies for the future?
Okay, I think the theme, the inclusion itself will unravel probably one of the greatest myths about what this area of opportunity is, in that one of the greatest misunderstandings is that people confuse microfinance with the small and medium term entrepreneurship, and there is always a haze and a gray area. What people don't realize is that this is a very clear segment which is just below the SME cluster, which needs a separate set of understanding and supportive initiatives, because the typical size of transactions is much smaller, and the type of people who could benefit from this are slightly lower in the prosperity ladder, and they need a different set of understanding and empathy to be, for their hands to be held and nurtured, and to most importantly be scaled up to the next level rather than be left in the lurch once they reach their potential. So I think there is this conference is very appropriate to address some of those challenges and give the various participants the opportunity of interacting and exchanging ideas, and also to exchange ideas of best practices in different markets. So what may be appropriate in India may not be currently practiced in Vietnam, for example, and a practitioner who has come here may pick some very valuable thoughts from an overall theme.
Right. Thank you. Now, as a formal sector institution, a traditional commercial bank, they would have a very difficult time trying to address this particular challenge. But you, as Hatton National Bank, have been able to introduce certain innovations in terms of trying to get financial inclusion as part of your services to that particular niche market of customers. What have you done and how have you managed to do that?
Let me first address the latter. And I think the fundamental difference between a typical NGO or MFI in its approach vis-a-vis a regulated listed entity like our bank is that the challenges faced by an MFI is to scale up the value chain, whereas for me and my institution, it's quite a different challenge of scaling down the ladder. And scaling down the ladder, probably the biggest challenge is to change the mindset to look at a much smaller deal size, and the challenge of deploying resources efficiently while always the resources are limited. So it's a question of resource allocation, but to also make sure in that allocation process one makes a reasonable return. And in this process, I think some of the biggest challenges, or the singular challenge we would say, is the ability to deploy the right sort of human talent into this business, because traditionally, being a large scale commercial bank, the type of people we bring in would be people who come in from a university education or from a certain type of civil society, who would certainly have a great challenge to engage into this sector and really get their hands dirty. And I think the most critical success factor which I would articulate from my bank is the fact that we have around 4 to 5% of our staff cadre who have been consciously handpicked over the last 2 decades from rural schools, colleges and even agri-based higher tech education institutions with the background to be able to engage into these rural communities and really empathize, not just delivering credit, but to also provide inclusive education and literacy, because they come very often from similar backgrounds. So that is a very, very important success factor, rather than just sending somebody with a set of cufflinks into the rural Sri Lanka and say deploy a plain vanilla product.
Thank you. So it is very obvious that it is not just about strategy, but it is actually having not only the vision, but also the mandate, which requires making that very, very smart choice of wanting to do banking this particular way, and then introducing these services, but designing products that are in line with that particular niche market and pricing it so that you can still have the benefit of running a profitable banking business. So with that in mind, you as a bank have made that choice independently. But you have also a role on the Banking with the Poor network. As a leader in this network and as one of the long-standing members of this network, what can Hatton National Bank do to ensure that other members of the banking industry and those who are in the microfinance sector can learn from these lessons and also introduce some of these strategies and products and services in their respective markets?
I think the most significant value addition we can do is share our experience and knowledge, probably 3 decades or almost 3 decades of experience which has been built up, and share that with peers within the formal sector, so that there is an encouragement for them to also take that first step, and to also not only look at it as a CSR initiative, but also look at it as a potentially viable business opportunity. Because one of the fundamental presumptions or premises in our business model is that this sector is not subsidized. It competes with any other business sector within the bank for all matrices, and it is that non-negotiable premise that I think has contributed to its success. But I think as a leading local commercial bank, in addition to knowledge sharing, I think there is also a role in terms of policy advocacy. My colleague Chandula Bevikrama, who currently chairs the Banking for the Poor network, has the opportunity of playing a major advocacy role in this scale. And given his association as a senior banker, is also able to bring that thinking into commercial banking. Just to demonstrate a recent initiative which we did, Chandula prepared a paper about a year and a half ago, which was presented at a forum with the Asian Banks Association, along with the sponsorship of the ABAC and the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, PEC. And it was taken towards, I believe, the Commonwealth Finance Ministers Forum in Peru, where the need to recognize microfinance was recognized at this forum. And to us, that was probably one of the most important take-homes, that as a practicing body, a message was taken at the highest level, at a regional level.
Thank you so much. We would like to once again thank Hatton National Bank for the excellent service that it has provided the Banking with the Poor network in terms of playing a strategic role, not only as a practitioner member of the network by hosting field exposures, participating in various Banking with the Poor training initiatives in countries as far off as Indonesia and beyond the region to Peru, and in continuously being generous in sharing what they have learned and their experiences through forums such as the Asia Microfinance Forum 2010. Thank you again. We welcome you to this forum.
My
and
pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you.